بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا، اللهم ربنا عافنا واعف عنا، اللهم يا ربنا زدنا علما يا رحمن يا رحيم، اللهم يا ربنا اجعلنا من أهل جنات الفردوس أجمعين، واجعلنا يا ربنا فيها بصحبة النبيين والصالحين وممن رضيت عنهم يا عزيز يا كريم. Inshallah, today we continue on with the tafsir. We are at the last ayah in Surah Luqman, the ayah number 34. Surah Luqman, in generality, is talking about the hikmah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala named it after the character, the person, Luqman. Luqman was not a prophet. He was not a messenger. He was from, it's been said that from the days of Dawood alayhi salam, way back then. And he was not exactly the best looking man. He was not exactly the person that he will attract your attention because of his looks, because of his presence. But his hikmah, his wisdom, is something to be talked about. Is something to be memorized, something to be established in history. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a whole surah after him, after the name of Luqman and the character of Luqman. Now, if you look at from the beginning of Surah Luqman all the way towards the end, talking about the essentials of hikmah, the essentials of wisdom, especially after the 14 or 15 or 12 or 8, whichever way you want to look at it, the advice of Luqman to his son, what he said to his son from these different issues that we talked about earlier, from direct advice and on the line advice to his son. That's something to be taken very seriously, wholeheartedly by every Muslim, by every human being. And the hikmah starts with knowledge. Starts with knowledge. If somebody's hakim, he has to be knowledgeable about things. And he has to be able to control what flows out of his mouth, what he says. He has to be able to control his actions. And that is the wisdom. The wise person, if you notice, more is towards for him to say less than for him to say more. That's why when we say, like, for instance, jar, we say, muhkam al-ighlaq, muhkam, it's closed. You find the wise person does not divulge with too many things except the necessary things that he has to speak out or speak about for him to put in his 5 cents. Too much talk, that's not wise. Talking about things does not concern you, that's not wise. Talking about things that would not bring any benefits to yourself or others, that's not wise. But this wisdom, how would you know what to say, when to say, how to say? That all because of the knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put it in the hearts and the minds of the people. Knowledge of itself is not enough. We say this person is alim or alim, or he has ilm, he has knowledge. That's not enough. Somebody who's alim does not mean he's wise. Somebody who's wise definitely has to have an essentials of ilm, essentials of knowledge. If you look at throughout the surah, this is what the tafsir is all about, and this is what we're going to see it by talking about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the knowledge of things and how things happen. But you notice the last ayah, how very special as it is. It talks about the essentials of knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the knowledge to people in many, many things. And وَمَا الْعِلْمُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who gives the ilm, gives the knowledge. As a matter of fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not did not order the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam for him to increase, to ask for anything extra except ilm. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Ya Allah, increase my knowledge. Ya Allah, zidni, ziyada, give me from ilm, from knowledge. The ilm is one thing, that is the essential, that is the base, and then the next step would be wisdom. Now, the last ayah in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in it, there's 5 things that is his knowledge. Would never give it out to anybody. Would never divulge this information to any of his creation. That's his own knowledge. However, some of those 5 things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us signs about it. But some others, we have absolutely no clue what they are. But they are specifically the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And no wise person should ever cross that limit to think that he would know better. He would know these things. The wise person will stop at that limit to say, this is the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is what I need to stop. I cannot speak of it, because part of the wisdom is for you not to talk about these 5 things in a way that you know about them when they're going to happen. Let's read about them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the ayah number 34 in Surah Luqman again, and in Surah Luqman, the juz' number 21, and the surah number 31. Inna Allah indahu ilmu as-sa'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ilm, the knowledge of as-sa'ah, the hour. Number 1. وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings down the ghayth. Ghayth is, as we talked about, ghayth means good beneficial rain. Ghayth or ghawth. It means good beneficial rain. And if we talk about matar, that is bad. That is, somehow, subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about matar, which is rain, another word for rain, but it brings in a torturous connotation, bad connotation, destructive connotation. But ghayth, and the word ghayth means the rain overall. وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in the wombs, in the arham, the plural of rahim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is so far we have ilm as-sa'ah, the knowledge of the hour, the end of time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the ghayth, brings the rain. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in the arham, knows what is going to be the newborns who are in the wombs of their mothers. And there's 2 more things. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. And there's nafs, nobody knows, no oneself knows what's going to earn the next day or the following day. And the last one is وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No nafs, no self can know in which part of land will die. 5 things. The knowledge of the end of time. Nobody knows it except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one knows when the ghayths are going to come down, the rain. Number 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows who's going to give birth and what are in the wombs of the mothers, the females, is going to give birth. Number 4, there's no way for anybody to know what he's going to earn the next day or the following day. That is all from ilm al-ghayb. And the last one is nobody knows where he's going to die. For that matter, not only where, is when. Nobody knows. So if you look at these 5 things from the point of wisdom, look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. In order for you to achieve wisdom, in order for you to get that point of wisdom, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the ayah, He says, وَمَنْ أُوتِيَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. Anybody who's been given the hikmah, has been given the wisdom, he's been given a lot of good. This is great. The wisdom relies on knowledge. Where is the knowledge? Comes in from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you need to go out there, earn it. You need to work hard for you to get it. The combination of ilm and khibra, and for you to know about things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will add 1 more element to it. Relying on those 2, the ilm and the khibra, is that the wisdom. It's that for you to say the right thing at the right time, and for you to be able to achieve the best results at that point with something you do or something you say. And look at the wisdom of Luqman, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave in the tongue of Luqman, of all these different advice, what you should do. He gave it in the beautiful story, the conversation between him and his son, between Luqman and his son. He's telling his son, do not make shirk, and talk about the walidain, about his parents, and and look at the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and look at what you should be walking in the face of this earth in humbleness, and on, and look at the nature of mankind. Look at the knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us in order for us to achieve or to work on the wisdom within ourselves and realize the importance of wisdom. Our limitation with these 5 things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the knowledge of these 5 things you cannot cross. But some of those knowledge, some of these things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us signs for them. And some others have nothing. Some signs that clues us in about something is going to happen. Like for instance, ilm as-sa'ah, the very first one. A lot of Bedouins, a lot of people who entered Islam, they came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they stop over there just to ask him one thing after they say shahada. They say, when is the hour going to happen? When is it going to happen? And subhanAllah, we're always looking for the end. The end of everything. When you come home and your wife, husband, whatever is cooking, the husband or wife comes inside the home. What does he say? When is the cooking going to end? I want to eat. When? When somebody is like, sleeping. When is the sleeping is going to end? I want to get up. When somebody is going on a trip, when his vacation is going to end, vacations will be over. And these people have that wisdom from them to know when is the end of time? When is this earth is going to end? How is it going to end? They understood how. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained it by changing the earth is no longer an earth and the universe is no longer a universe. But when? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I cannot tell you, that is the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I'll give you some signs. And he gave you the three different kind of signs. The signs were in the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the beginning of signs, and they were there back then. And then the intermediary, the ones that are in the middle, like, for instance, al-hufat, al-urat, wa'at, al-shat, the ones who are looking at their buildings, they yatatawaluna fil bunyan, like one of them, like this big war is going to happen between the Jews and the Muslims. That's one of the signs. The signs is one of them is that there's one of the hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has a prediction of the car, where people will be passing by, they'll be riding boxes of some sort, and then when they're passing by, they see their brother Muslim waiting, and they would even pretend not to see him for them not to give him ride, like cars. Some of the scholars said cars. Back before cars, they said there's the boxes they put on top of the camels, kind of like not to help others, kind of like this. And then there is the 7 or the 10 end of life or end of end of earth, the last signs, which is Masih al-Dajjal, Ya'juj Ma'juj, the wind, the animal that walks the face of this earth, on and on. Although that we don't have the sign, we don't know when it's going to happen, but we have signs that we know is going to come, and it's getting closer, getting closer to it. Number 1, as-sa'a. Number 2, وَيُنَزِّلُ الْغَيْثِ. And look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the ghayth. The ghayth is, or the rain, is the source of life here on the face of this earth. Come to think of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the ayah, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. We have made from water everything that is living. Any part of the world, any part of earth that has no rain will end up in death. There's nothing in it. And the minute the rain will come, you find life spreading, sprouting everywhere. That's what nature, of the giving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the rain. The rain will always come, but where? How is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring the rain to specific places, to specific areas, to specific nations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make life to happen and to flourish, to spread, and on and on. Nobody could control it. Sometimes people can think about the rain, but somehow the rain can be destructive also. But the ghayth here, the beneficial rain. Without rain, there's no life. The rain is the source of all wealth. If you look at any civilization today, it has to go back to rain. Anybody who's rich, it has to go back to rain. Somebody will say, well, I'm a banker. Say, yeah, you're a banker, but who's going to put money in your bank if there's no agricultural products and there's no, food will come in from earth, and this food kind of make people eat, and they then get nourishment from it, and this is going to create the economy, and on and on and on. And even the car makers will sell cars to these people. The bankers will hold their money. The investors will invest their money, and on like this. Even the people who make clothing, for instance, it has to come in from kind of agricultural products, and on and on. All these sub, industries, they have to be related to it, and on and on. There's no way to control it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows when and how. Number 3, وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْأَرْحَامِ. And He knows what are in the wombs. Not necessarily just human beings. Every womb, the womb of beasts, animals, and the wombs of human beings also as well. Every single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to come in from womb, except the 3 exceptions Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed us with. There's possibly many others, we don't know them. The exception of Adam alayhi salam, he was created from no father, no mother. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him with his own hands. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the second one, which is an exception also as well, is his wife, his zawj. He created her from him. So she came in from a father, from a source, from a male source, but she has no female source. The third exception is Isa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created him from the womb of Maryam as female, but he has no male father. There's three exceptions. And everybody else, it has to come in from a mother and a father. It has to be a womb to carry them. Even Isa alayhi salam, there's a womb who carried him, which is the womb of Maryam. That's the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How do they get born? What is the numbers? What do they look like? Are they good? Are they bad? We have no idea. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what are in the wombs. Number, quality, quantity, all that. He knows this. Nobody else but him that knows that. The third one is وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. The earnings. Nobody knows what you're going to earn tomorrow. You never know. You could be the wealthiest guy tomorrow. You could be the poorest guy tomorrow. You can be bankrupt overnight, or you could be become a millionaire or billionaire for that matter overnight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. There's no way to control it. But there's signs. There's signs that tells you about your earning. Like, for instance, say somebody's a doctor, somebody is a attorney, hedge fund manager, versus somebody who is basically an average employee or works in a restaurant. There's signs would tell you about those. The last one is وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No nafs knows which land will die, when it's going to die, and where it's going to die. Nobody knows that. However, there's signs somebody's going to die. Somebody getting ill, we have a sign he's going to die. Somebody who got the shave, the white hair on his beard, on his head, he's going to die. Somebody got old, eventually his death is getting closer. Every single day you spend here on the face of this earth, you are one day closer to your death. Everybody's going to die. But when, which land, you don't know. That comes this story to tell you about Sulaiman alayhi salam. It's been said that one of the Israeliyat, this is a story, it's been told, that there was this man who was always wanted to attend from the people of Sulaiman alayhi salam. He always attending the meetings and on and on. He was there. Sometimes he was sitting there and he used to see this person next to him. He's always looking at him, staring at him, like really staring at him in a very inconspicuous way, clear, staring. This guy got so scared. So he approached Sulaiman alayhi salam, said, "Yes, Sulaiman, can you do me a favor? Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to carry me, and you have the control of the wind. Can you carry me and put me in another land? This guy is following me everywhere I go, everywhere I place, everywhere I look. He's like staring right at me. He's really creeping me out." Sulaiman alayhi salam made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The wind lifted him and he landed in another city somewhere else, completely different. The minute he landed, he found that person who was staring at him in the other city. He was right there looking at him. So he looked up, he said, "SubhanAllah, I'm running away from you, and I asked Sulaiman to lift me and get me here, and you're here." He said, "Who are you? What's your thing? Why are you staring at me like this?" Staring at me like in a very strange way. The man looks at him and says, "I am the angel of death, and I know in my book is written that you're gonna die in this spot in the city. So when I saw you in the other city, I'm looking at you, strangely, like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in the city here in the spot. And you're going to die in this spot." So what did this happen? What happened? He actually asked Sulaiman alayhi salam for him to be lifted to go to the spot he's going to die in. His destiny. There's no running away from it. Surah Luqman is about hikmah, about the essentials of hikmah, about the limitation of knowledge, where you get the knowledge, the 5 things at the end of this ayah number 34, the 5 limitations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows 5 of these things. Nobody else knows anything about them. We have some of the signs about what's going on, but we don't know exactly what's happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have that knowledge. All the other things is up for grabs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this knowledge to people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them wisdom of how to use it, and what are the essentials of wisdom, what to say. And the essentials of wisdom for you not to talk too much, not to say too many things. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith that when some Sahabi, they're talking about things, he says, would we get in trouble because of what we say, because of our tongues? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, "SubhanAllah, what is the thing that will get you in more trouble than your tongue? This is the one that gets you in the most amount of trouble. In the other hadith, من ضمن لي ما بين لحييه وما بين فخذيه. Anybody who guaranteed for me what is between لحييه, between his beards, in other words, his tongue, to guarantee for him not to slip and say bad things with his tongue. وما بين فخذيه, what is between his legs, his private parts. If you guarantee these two parts in your body, ضمنت له الجنة, I guarantee for him the Jannah. You can imagine the wisdom and how important it is as it is in the lives of the Muslims, and what we should be always following and we always seeking. And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives it to people, and only the lucky one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give them that luck, who has the most amount of wisdom to say the right thing at the right time to achieve the best results. And that is the wise person. Inshallah, we start today with Surah Al-Sajda. Surah Al-Sajda is the surah number 32 in the sequence from 114 of the Surah Quran, and the Juz'a number 21. And this surah is Makkiyah. It was revealed in Makkah, except a couple of ayat. Between 16 to 20, about 4 ayat are revealed in Medina, but the remainder, the majority of it is revealed in Makkah. So it's called Makkiyah. Surah Sajda, as we know, the Sajda is the Surah Sujood. It has Sajda in it. And some of the scholars named it another name. They call it Alif Lam Mim, Tanzilul Kitab, Sajda. It has two names, Tanzilul Kitab and it has Sajda. And we all know that Alif Lam Mim, al-Huruf al-Muqatta'a, the divided letters, are in 28 different surah in the Quran, and they contain 14 letters altogether from the alphabet, from the Arabic alphabet. 6 surah starts with Alif Lam Mim. 6 surah only starts with Alif Lam Mim, and this is the last one. This is the last surah. There's no more Alif Lam Mim afterwards. Alif Lam Mim surah are, they start with Surah Al-Baqarah, Ali Imran, Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah Al-Rum, Surah Luqman, the one right before this one, and the last one, this one here, number 32, is Surah As-Sajda. Sajda, why is called Sajda? Because there's sujood in it. And what is the subject of the surah? What is the giving of the surah? The surah talks about, from the beginning until end, it summons the life of every single Muslim, starting from the rule, complementing, talking about the book, where the rule come from, the Quran. تنزيل كتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين. تنزيل كتاب, bring down the book from, there's no doubt in it, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbul Alameen, all the way down to the actions of the people who, good doers and bad doers, and the actions of the people who believe in it and don't believe in it. And an example of Bani Israel, what they have done, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the leadership because they believed in the book and they have the yaqeen in their hearts. And what is the concept of the entire deen and religion. This is a very important surah because we have many clues about this. One of them is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to recite Surah Al-Sajda in Fajr Salah in Jum'ah. And the Jum'ah Salah, Fajr Salah, is the most important Jama'ah Salah in the entirety of the week. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in the very first rak'ah, he used to recite this one. And the next one, the second one, he used to recite Hal Ata ala al-Insani, Surah Al-Insan. He used to recite the second one there, in the Salat al-Jum'ah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to recite Surah Al-Sajda before he goes to sleep. And some other hadith, he used to recite this one with Surah Al-Mulk, and the other one he used to recite with Surah Al-Zumar, part of the reminder of the beginning and the end, and on and on. If you look at it from the very first of it, the beginning, the sequence of it talks about almost like a whole journey of Islam. It summons the whole Islam in it, Iman in it, all of it in a nutshell, in this surah, in the short 30 ayah in Surah Al-Sajda. In Surah Al-Sajda, there is sujood. It's called sujood tilawa. The sujood, there's 3 different kinds of sujood. You make sujood in salah, that's one kind. There's another sujood, you say sujood tilawa. that when you are reciting, and the sujood al-tilawa in the Quran, there is 14 or 15 different spaces, different spots. That is well known from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to make sujood in these 15 different spots in it. This is one of them. And the different, why we say 14 or 15, because the scholars have different on this. Imam Abu Hanifa, he said only 14. Surah Al-Hajj has only one. Majority of the other scholars, they said that Surah Al-Hajj has two of them, two sujood. That's why it's a very special surah. It has two sujood in it. Madhab Shafi'i, Ibn Hanbal, Malik, Imam Malik, they said there's two of them because they took the hadith from Omar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. He used to make sujood, the second sujood in Surah Al-Hajj. This is one of the sujood here. And from these 14 or 14 different surah which has the sujood in it, two of them is Surah Al-Hajj, or one, whichever way that you want to follow. These are very special surah because there's sujood in them. And this sujood, it doesn't come in because we think this way, or we like it, or because there's word of sujood in it. It is actually taken from the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was specific spots, specific ayat he used to make sujood in. That's it. So we follow him, we do exactly like what he did. As a matter of fact, in Surah Sad, there's no sujood. It's actually about Dawood alayhi salam when he made the ruku', he bowed. He did not make sujood, he did not prostrate. So فَخَرَّ رَاكِعًا, he made the ruku', but yet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made sujood in that spot. And that is from the sunnah. We follow the sunnah exactly how it is, from the actions of the best prophet, the Sadiq al-Masduq, the one who never lies, who delivered the amana, delivered the deen, the best parts that we make sujood in. And this surah has the sujood in it. Alif Lam Mim. This is ayah number 1. Ayah number 1, 3 huruf muqatta, 3 letters are divided. What does it mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. The talk about these huruf al-muqatta, the divided letters, huge. But the bottom line is, today, and even in the days of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, nobody really knows precisely what it means. But do they have meaning? Absolutely. Do they clue us on something? 100%. There's nothing in the Quran is waste. There's nothing filler, like kind of just to put letters here and there. Everything has a meaning, everything has wisdom in it, but we don't know. And the miracle of things, that mankind is always so inquisitive. We always ask, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? You can imagine. And the younger we are, the more questions we have. We ask more and more because we're not embarrassed. We're not shy about, we don't have khajal. We don't care. We just ask and ask and ask. And the older we get, we ask less. And subhanAllah, seems to be, we actually know less also as well, because our knowledge extends to the fact that we really very knowledgeable of one thing. We're really knowledgeable of how not knowledgeable we are, how ignorant we really are. We're off the path we are. The knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so vast, it's so huge. But subhanAllah, with this nature of mankind, and especially the Arab, which is they really mastered the Arabic language and they knew about it so well, they stood there completely astonished and flabbergasted and surprised how eloquent, how great this book is, but they never asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the kuffar who were trying to find loophole in the Quran to stab at it, to degrade it, to demean it, they could not find not even these unknown meaning letters in the Quran. They stood looking at it, like I said, in surprise and shock and admiration. They couldn't even say anything about it because it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The meaning unknown, believing there's meaning in it, is mandatory, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in it. But again, all the rest of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's exactly known, what is the meaning of it. We only interpret these words according to the scholars, what they said about it, but the true meaning is only in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next ayah, number 2. تنزيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين. Tanzil is to bring down, nazzala yunazzil, to bring down from one spot, higher spot to a lower spot. Like tanzilu al-ghayth, yunazzilu al-ghayth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the ghayth. This is a very important concept. Watch. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the concept of tanzeel, to bring something from the outside to somewhere. This tanzeel is an important concept in or important law or rule here on the face of this earth. Everything is contained. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bring something, it has to come in from the top, has to come in to enter this thing. And tanzeel here is not necessarily from the top in this direction, because if you look at the earth, the direction of earth is actually pointing towards the gravity. So there's no top and bottom. So everything that comes down or being brought in to penetrate something that is there. Like, for instance, look at the concept of tanzeel, how it works. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about tanzeelul mursaleen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought down the messengers. Tanzeel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nazzal, he brought down Adam alayhi salam. Bring him down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look at your body. Your body is intact. How does the sickness comes in? From the outside. Tanzeel is entering. So you notice that how everything is intact the way it is, but something has to bring down something inside of it. Earth is dry. The rain has to come in from the top, from the outside, to come in it to bring life with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the planning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran has to come down, tanzeel, to be brought down as ilm, as knowledge, as the guidance, upon an intact, completely hermetically sealed earth. So this Quran has to come down to make the change. Like the rain will come in, will bring life. The Quran will come in, will bring hidayah, will bring guidance, will bring knowledge. The messenger will come in and will bring guidance to people, rahmah to people. The knowledge will come inside the mind from the outside, will come inside the mind and will occupy the brain and the mind. The disease will come inside the body and will make the changes. The food has to come inside the body and they will be consumed. This tanzeel, how the interaction between things and things, the changes has to happen through this concept of tanzeel. Could be knowledge, could be rain, could be wealth, could be guidance, could be rahmah, could be this, could be that, whatever it is. And if you are very cautious of this, you look at it, this is one of the laws that you can be very, very observant of it, and you can utilize it for the lot of good. Like for instance, you look at your son today, you say, you know what, he's in good shape. Where's the sickness going to come in? From outside. How can I protect him? Because something's going to happen from outside. Like somebody, if you need to have your mind to be educated or to have more knowledge, it has to come in from outside. How is it going to enter the mind? Through the proper channels, through hearing or seeing, or mainly the two concepts is by hearing and seeing. And so there's some other ways. It could be braille, it could be some other issues, by observing, by watching, whatever it is. Tanzilul kitab, bringing down the book. What is book? Which is the book here? As a general rule, every the book in the Quran, it means, unless it's associated with a specific incident, with a specific name, it means the Quran. That is general. So, Tanzilu Kitab, bring down the book, talking about the Quran. La rayba fi, there's no ambiguity, there's no doubt in it. This is true, this is haqq, this is, correct, this is sadq, this is truthfulness. There's no joke about this. There's no inaccuracy about this. There's no off about this. This book is straightforward, is correct, straight, is truth. It is fixed, does not change. لا ريب فيه. لا ريب فيه. From where? من رب العالمين. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rabb, the ones who, Murabbil Alameen, raises people, takes care of people, who is attending to the needs of his creation. Rabbul Alameen. The Alameen here could sometimes contain, the Alameen as a word could contain possibly sometimes the jinn and the ins, mankind and jinn kind, and sometimes just mankind. This Quran came into both, to jinn and to ins, to both. So it depends on the situation. But Alameen is the ones who have knowledge, to gain knowledge, which is here in this case would be jinn kind or mankind. Look at the next ayah. We're going to go back to this, but look at the next ayah. أم يقولون افترى, or they say he made iftira. This is the ayah number 3. Iftira. Iftira, to make up a lie. Or they say he built on the unknown. مبني على المجهول. أم يقولون, or they say افتراه. Who is he majhul? Who is the unknown? He said he made it up. Obviously, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or they say he, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, made it up. He's the one who made it up. He's the one who concocted it. He's the one who wrote it. He's the one who came with it. That is not from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what they claim. That's what they say. بل, and we said, talked about بل تنقض ما قبلها وتقر ما بعدها. بل, it actually negates what's before it and substantiates what's after it. Bel, the truth is, the right thing is, we don't explain it as lacking, as but. Here, what we say is bel, it is what's wrong. There is no way to be iftira, to be made up. What they say, it's completely wrong. هو الحق, it is the haqq, it is the صادق, الصحيح, الثابت, haqq. It is the haqq. It is something correct, and is something truthful, and is something fixed, does not change, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. من ربك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. From your Rabb. لتنذر. Why? Why? For you to warn with it, for you to warn with this book. لتنذر قوما, to their people. ما أتاهم من نذير. They never had anybody who warns them before you, من قبلك. لعلهم حرف رجاء, ترجي, لعلهم, maybe, hopefully, they will have hidayah, they will have guidance. You notice these two ayah here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started the surah as he started Surah Al-Baqarah, as Al-Imran, as the rest of the surah, specifically Alif Lam Mim, talking about these surahs specifically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a wisdom in this. No, he knows what's, it's a wisdom and all that. But you notice the Alif Lam Mim starts with substantiating and pushing and giving credibility to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the essentials. As we said before, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he put mankind here on the face of this earth, there's two things. It has to be set of rules and regulations, this mankind, this universe overall, this earth, this mankind has to live by. So set of rules and regulations. And this is what we talk about: Deen, Islam, what the messengers has come with, or they spread amongst their people, and on and on. Rules, regulations, right? And then the other side of things, it has to be these people, mankind, has to comply with these rules. Has to comply with them. And if you notice, the Quran is about these two things, about set of rules and regulations and pushing people to believe in the book, number one. And number two is to follow it, to execute it, to practice it. These two things are the essentiality what's in the Quran. And come to think of it, in all the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about these two things: rules and regulations, and to comply with the rules and regulations, like that. So if you want to bring in a set of rules and regulations and was brought down, you have to give it credibility. You have to give it a right source. People are going to think, oh, where did this book come from? Like today, if I want to walk in a classroom, I want to say, rule, I write it down on the, or the law or an equation or something, I write it down on, or historic fact or whatever it is, I write it down on the blackboard. The students or the teachers, whatever, say, what did you come with this from? Say, well, you know what? This, I would say, you know what? This was written in such a book, so and so wrote it. Say, now we understand. Now we believe. Why? Because so and so, he's credible, wrote it down in the book, which is credible. He wrote this, which is kind of makes sense. But if I walk up and say, I made up my own rule, I kind of wrote it down on the blackboard, everybody looks at me and say, where did you come with this from? Say, I think this one. Nobody's going to believe me. So I have to achieve and establish credibility to the laws and the regulations I come with, what I'm talking about. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala armed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with the book, he gave him the book with his hand. He says, this is the Quran, you get to recite it upon your people, and it's an obligatory. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْهِ, in the second surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first surah, the second surah has been ordered, Surah Muzammil. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Read what is available to you, what is easy for you to recite. This Quran has to be credible. It has to be substantiated. You have to believe as yaqeen from your heart, with no ambiguity, with no doubt, that it is the right book. It is from the right source. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, very first ayah after Alif Lam Mim, what does he say? Tanzilul kitabi la rayba fi. This book, there's no doubt in it. You have to believe in it. You have to believe in the correctness of it with no doubt, with no ambiguity, with no, not even a speckle of any yaqeen or any kind of unassured about this book. You have to believe it is the correct, no doubt. It is from who? From Rabbil Alameen. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the attending to your needs, who's the one who raises you, the one who will give you food, the one who gives you health, gives you wealth, the one who raises you from, the minute you're born from your mother's womb all the way until you die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one who's going to hold you accountable. He's the one who teaches you. He's the one who feeds you. He's the one who sustains you on Rabbil Alameen. So, when you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the second important bit of information, this book has to be credible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasizing this point on and on and on and on. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The very first ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah after Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This book, there's no doubt in it. Hameen, Tanzeel min Rabbil Alameen. Look how many Hameen, Tanzeel from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This book is correct. This book is right. This book is haqq. This book is there's no doubt in it. If we have any doubt in the Quran, our complete belief system is not correct, is not fixed. We have to believe it is correct and it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where does the correctness come from? Because the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of all, the sustainer of all, He's the one who brought it down. He's the one who brought it down to us as guidance, as huda and rahmah to us. And if they say He is made up, look at the next ayah. If they say He made it up, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, بَلْ هُوَ الْحَقِّ. It is the haqq. From your Rabb. Why? لِتُنذِرَ بِهِ قَوْمًا. For you to warn people who never had anybody to warn them before. And sure enough, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, between him and Isa alayhi salam, close to be 600 years or so, between this period of time. There's no other messengers between, as we know of, between our prophets, between Isa alayhi salam and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. There's no messengers in between. And the people in the Arabian Peninsula, they did not have the specific generation, and for many generations before, thousands of years before the last messenger was in that area was Ismail alayhi salam, the great grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, go back to 12 or 13 generations back, close to be 2,000 or more than 2,000 years before. So these people, they never had anybody to warn them, to remind them. They slipped, they went away. They are no longer have any guidance in their lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we brought this book, no doubt in it, from your Rabb, from the one who's sustainer, the one who's giver, the one who raises you. And if they say that He made it up, that's not true. It is from haqq, it is the truth, the correct from your Rabb. And for you to warn people, they never had anybody to warn them before you. لَعَلَّهُمْ, maybe they'll be guided. So it's establishing the credibility of the book, the source of the book, and the reason why the book was come down, and to deny any doubt or any kind of suspicions to be thrown upon it where it's come from overall. Now, the ayah number 4. Who's Rabbul Alameen? Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established this book, came from Rabbul Alameen. But let's talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's talk about Him. Who is He? What is, attributes? What do you mean by Allah? You notice the word Rabbul Alameen is the one who raises, teaches, Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Himself with a different name. Allah. Rabb, Allah. Rabb is the sustainer, the giver, and Allah is the one to be worshipped. The one to be worshipped. Rabbul Alameen is Allah, the one who خلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في ستة أيام ثم استوى على العرش. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the only God worthy of worship, the only God, the creator, the only sustainer, the one who created heaven and earth. Created heavens and earth, samawati wal ard, heavens and earth, in 6 days. 6 days, step by step, step by step. We talked about that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought in the 6 days here 7 times in the Quran, 7 times in totality, talking about created in 6 days. And then He made istiwa, istiwa upon the arsh. مَا لَكُم مِّن دُونِهِ, do you have anybody other than Him, lower than Him? مِن wali, you don't have an attorney, you don't have a defender, you don't have somebody to turn you back to other than Him, you don't have anybody but Him. وَلَا شَفِيعٍ, and you don't have anybody to intercede on your behalf in front of Him. أَفَلَا تَتَذَكَّرُونَ, you don't remember? Who's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The one who created heavens and earth in 6 days, and then He made istiwa on the arsh. What is istiwa? Istiwa cannot be explained by itself. It has to be associated with the condition, with whatever this situation for us to understand what istawa means. Like for instance, if we say istawat at-tabkha, istawat at-tabkha. Tabkha is the food being cooked. It made istiwa. It means the food is ready to be consumed. So it's basically fully ready. It has reached the best to gain its place to be food, to cook food. You say stawat, that's it. This is as good as it can be. You can eat it at that point because it's ready. Istawat al-fakiha, the fruit made istiwa. In other words, it's ripe. It's no longer hard, it's no longer sour. It is suitable for you to eat. Istawat. Istawat, the level, made istiwa, the level that you put on the wall, made istiwa. What does that mean? The wall, it is made istiwa. It is completely level, 100%, that is ready to be called a wall. It's not crooked, it's not up and down, it does not, made istiwa, it's perfect. So, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ. So the arsh at that point, the meaning here means that after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created heavens and earth in 6 days, they got to a point that they are suitable, they are ready for are matching, the creator, match the ability and the greatness and the giving of the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are there to be controlled by Him. So they were in state of imperfection, they were state of getting ready, their state of preparation in these 6 days until the 7th day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, made istiwa. In other words, they were ready. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala samad, does not change, does not move, does not, he's samad, he's, his nature is there, he's the one who controls, nothing controls him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created heaven and earth in these 6 steps, or these 6 days, not necessarily like our days, could be days, could be taken millions of years, thousands of years, billions of years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, until they are ready for them to be controlled by Him, as He's the Rabb, He is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of all, and it is one of His creations, like that. Can we say, what, as a meaning here, if a bus driver, when the bus driver can take over the bus, when it's not necessarily about the driver. The driver here is just the driver. He has his license, he got everything, he got set up for him. It's all about the bus. When the bus is fully manufactured, when it's fully fueled, when it's tested, when it's ready, they say made istiwa. And then the driver took over. But it's not about the driver, it's about the bus itself. Like here, the arsh is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, heaven and earth, how is ready after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared them and created them, they're ready to be taken over by Him, as good, as benevolent, as great, as majestic as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. This creation is ready for Him to be controlled by Him, by the arsh. You have nobody but Him to turn you back to. He's the one who created it all. He's the one who made istiwa on this arsh. And you have nobody to intercede on your behalf in front of Him. You have no middleman. He's the creator of all, He's the controller of all, He's the one worthy of worship. He's the one, is the only one worthy of worship. Nobody else to be worshipped by him, but him. So this is establishing the point of creation. Number one. Number two, يدبر الأمر من السماء إلى الأرض. He makes تدبير. He runs. دبر يدبر. He runs things. دبر, the source of it from the word dubur. Dubur is the back end. Dubur, like dubur al-ba'ir, the back end of the camel, the ba'ir. So when you make tadbir, how does you got a shepherd, he's driving or he is manipulating or he's moving the camel, what does he do? He stands behind him and he's pointing at him. He's, kind of pushing him, guiding him, telling him, don't go here, go there, whatever it is. He's pushing him forward. And that's called tadbir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make tadbir to earth as he's overlooking it. The amr, the things, the order, the ways of things, the amr, he makes tadbir to this amr. From where? Min as-sama, from heaven. From heaven. To where? To earth. He's not here amongst it. He's not here inside of it. He runs it from the top to the bottom. He runs it from the top to the bottom. ثم, and then, يعرج إليه. This amr, this order, these ways, goes back to him. يعرج من العرج. Araja is to go back, to go up. And you notice the word arj also means somebody who has a limp. If you notice somebody who's limping, you notice that we call this called arj. You notice that when he's walking, he kind of walks and he kind of go up and down because of his limp. He goes up and goes down, goes up, goes down. So it's called arj. So ya'ruju ilayh. So this order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is he runs it from heaven to earth, goes back to him, to heaven one more time. في يوم, in a day. كان مقداره, the estimate or the qadar or miqdar or the value of this day. مقداره ألف سنة, 1,000 years from the years that you count. The days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not like our days. We're talking about apples and oranges here. Our days is controlled by the movement of Earth around itself once every 24 hours, the movement around the sun, 365 days, around also the movement of the moon around the Earth, 354 days. That's how we deduct our days, our months, our hours. We divided our day into 24-hour different portions. Is the amount of knuckles we have in our hands. All these knuckles here, 12, and that's why you get the dozen. So 24 hours. You got 2 knuckles, and this is where you got the 24 carats. They divided the gold into 24 carats. If you add 1, that'll become 23 karat gold, 1 karat gold, and on and on. This is the old system. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it here on the face of this earth. These are our days. But the days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, completely different. It's not like our days. Completely different because there's no sun, there's no moon, it's entirely different earth, different environment, different whatever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He controls earth from top to bottom, and then this order, this way, goes back to Him as the accountability and the counting in a day equivalent of 1,000 years of what you count. ذلك عالم الغيب والشهادة العزيز الرحيم. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the knowledgeable of what is and what is the metaphysical, which things you don't know. The things you witness and the things you're not fully aware of, you don't witness. عالم الغيب والشهادة. He's the Aziz, not to be conquered. He's the Rahim. The Rahmah is His ways to run things by difficulty, not by destroying things and killing things and waiting to cause terror and hopelessness in the hearts of the people. Is the opposite, to make it easy on them, to run it in the best way for them to achieve and do their job, they're being held accountable for, which is to worship Him and to live in dignity and respect here on the face of this earth. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us, inshallah, the knowledge of the Quran and the meanings of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, gives us more of the guidance in the Quran for us to follow it in our lives and to guide us, inshallah, to Jannat al-Firdaus and the life after.